Rock me mama.
Welcome back.
Hello, this is Rock Me Mama. I'm Amy.
I'm Macy.
And we, Morgan's not here because she's not feeling well.
I know.
But we have such a special guest. My friend, Kalli, who used to live in Nashville, now lives in Indy, is a real estate agent, is a bad motherfucker, hot bitch, cool as shit. And she's here to talk to us about something that's really, really important to all of us that we are so excited to talk about. Kalli, hi.
Hey, that was wonderful.
She's like, tell me more.
And
say more.
Let's cut it. That was good. That was great.
Yeah,
Another
great show, guys.
please.
Really good.
So, Kalli, you're here because you had IVF and you had a pretty long, in-depth fertility journey. And now that IVF is basically being banned in many parts of the country, and women aren't being allowed to do IVF, and a lot of times, I guess they're taking the embryos and they're not allowing people to use already frozen embryos.
I didn't know that.
Yes, it's a whole big political debate, which we won't get into, but it's absolutely another way for men to control women's bodies and men to put the lives of unborn children ahead of women and born children. But Kalli ended up having IVF, and she lives in a place where you can still do it. And I just want you to kind of take us from the beginning through your infertility journey to the IVF, to the birth, and now. So start...
Ready? Go.
Just start like where you feel is appropriate to start, like when you guys started trying.
So I'm going to nod to what you just mentioned about the banning, because it's very centralized in Alabama right now. And essentially what they're saying is, because this is going to come back around. So essentially what they're saying is any embryos that you have frozen, you actually can't discard it. You can't discard. So that's now why doctors are saying, great, we're not going to do any procedures because they're going to come for us. And I will touch back on that here in a minute. So,
is it just in Alabama so far?
I think right now it's just Alabama.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And it's becoming like, from all the discussions I've had about it, it's like they accidentally did something way more than they thought they were. Like, a man did this. They didn't understand what they were doing when they were making the law. And then it's like backfiring in ways they didn't understand, which is so fucking classic for a man's actions. So someone was recently telling me it's not all men, but it's always men.
Yeah. Oh, that's the best thing I've ever heard.
And I was like, well, goddamn, that's correct.
Yeah.
Can we put that on a shirt?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
That is a shirt. That is a shirt.
Okay, so mine, it's very hard to pick like a starting point, because it's like, okay, did you go on birth control? And that's like kind of almost your fertility journey is where it starts in my mind of like, I didn't go on birth control for a very long time. I was in a Southern Baptist family where it was like birth control is very shamed. Like that's horrible, even though I needed it more than most people because I had such horrible periods. And so it was like, I had a relationship with fertility in such a weird way from the jump. And that relationship was just me and birth control. So...
That's interesting. Not that storyline, but you viewing it that way, because I think that a lot of women, like that's probably where a lot of women's fertility journeys start. But I've never heard anybody say
no, me neither.
And I really like that.
Well,
because I think that's true.
Like when you're in high school or junior high or whatever, you're getting the sex talk, and they're like, if you have sex, you'll get pregnant immediately.
Yeah.
And then fast forward 20 years, and you're like, oh, it's really fucking hard to get pregnant. And you guys acted like I would just accidentally sit on some cum on a toilet seat. Can I say cum? Are we? Are there regulations?
Oh, you can say anything you want.
You can say literally anything.
I brought some. I'm just kidding. So
that's what's in your
Cheers. You
can actually drinking cum.
So essentially, I ended up trying it when I was in like a serious relationship, getting married, thinking not ready to have kids, and I was in this weird relationship. I was on it for a year, and meanwhile, it was genuinely to regulate my period. And looking back, it's crazy. I was on it for 1 year, and I was not a safe sex person. Like I had been in very many long-term relationships where it was like, I'm not being careful. And I went on and off in different like realms of thinking of, well, I wouldn't mind having a baby, or I definitely don't want to have a baby. So we're just pulling out or whatever it is. And now looking back, it's like, man, we didn't have to pull out this sucks. But fast forward,
All that wasted time.
You know what I mean?
All that
Where you're
wasted
all
cum.
that wasted shirts that we had to clean up with. You know, like you sacrifice a sock and your one sock at the bar later, whatever it was. So essentially, I would say the next big step for me was my partner now, Scott. We finally settled in, and it had never occurred to me that I hadn't gotten pregnant before. You know, it was like you always have that weird pregnancy scare, or you build up a pregnancy scare when you're younger because you fucking love drama. And it's like, I was 3 hours late for my period. I should definitely get a test and tell my boyfriend about it. It's crazy. And, you know, it's because nothing else is going on. So
When we spend our whole life, sorry to interrupt you, but
No.
Kashana, who was our very first guest ever on season 1, it was about fertility. But she said, you know, you spend your whole life being told, don't get pregnant, don't get pregnant, don't get pregnant until you want to get pregnant and you're like, oh shit, I can't. And so that's
it's so hard.
That's what it is. We all grew up hearing, like, none of our parents were like, at the age of 4, like, if it happens, cool, I'll be a grandparent. Like,
Well, the
nobody's
sex
hearing
talk,
that.
the sex talk's immediately about how to avoid it and all of that. So yeah, it's always been the scary thing at the end of the tunnel until you finally turn a corner and you're like, I'm ready to embrace that. So essentially, it's 2020. We had actually not been dating very long, but I was at an age of like feeling like, hey, I don't care that we haven't been dating that long. I'm going to tell you straight up, I'm actually finally in a place where I'm like, yeah, I do want kids. Whether it's by myself, whether it's with a partner, whether it's not, because I had like fluctuated so many times. And there's so many schools of thoughts about it, of reasons why and what it's fulfilling for you and what your childhood was. And if you're trying to build the family you never had, all that shit. So I flip back and forth a million times. But then I had this partner that I really trusted, but it was so new. And I really, like, every time I looked at him, I was like, raising kids with you would be fucking incredible.
Sweet.
Yeah.
His family was wonderful. He was wonderful.
Yeah.
We had definitely the same
He's
moral
pretty great.
compass.
He's pretty
he's
great.
It felt right.
It was definitely the, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
So we tried for like a year. And during that time, we had a lot of conversations of like, I kept coming back to, I think you should just go get your sperm tested because it's like very cut and dry. It's either you're good or you're not on your end. My end is a whole can of worms, a whole cave of wonders.
Yeah.
Which is what we call my vagina. So
Also put that on a shirt.
essentially, he finally did that, and he's a wonderful boy, man, really irresponsible. So you know, he says he's gonna do something, he does it like a year later. He does that, and it's like, oh, it's not you at all, it's me. So now we're opening up that cave of wonders. So I go in, and I had at this point, so I'm 38 now. This was when I was 36. And at this point, I have had a cousin, a best friend, and a couple like close friends who have done IVF. And so it's like very common law, very common language, not weird, not scary.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, no, this is pretty normal.
Yeah.
And so at least it was like very tangible of,
Totally.
I know what doctor to go to because you gave me 3 and I get to pick one. And you know, I've heard all their stories and they all had very different stories.
That's great because that's not always the case.
No, and it's
that
wild.
you know that
What did
many
they tell you
people.
though when you went in to get tested? Were they like, you just can't have?
Oh, you'll like this. So essentially, I go in, there's a very simple test that I always tell people, if you're nervous, if you're older, if you're whatever, because I think this should have happened maybe when I was like getting on birth control in the first place. But essentially they shoot blue dye into your uterus and it's supposed to go through your fallopian tubes. So they can see it to say like, nothing is blocked. The semen has a clear path.
Okay.
So they do that and the lady is like, not a drop got to a tube. Not even a drop.
Oh my
And
God.
so the best part then was she said, have you had syphilis 3 times? Very specific. It's not a once or
Syphilis.
not. And I said, not a single time. Next question. And there was no next question. That was the end of them trying to figure out why there was an issue at all.
Just syphilis. And
Wow.
3 times, thrice.
Thrice syphilis. Yeah, a collector
Okay.
of syphilis.
Right.
So essentially then I'm like, I have to know. I have to know the
Yeah.
reasons. I have to know what's going on.
Yeah.
She tells me it's likely scar tissue that's blocking it, but there is no. So I hear scar tissue and I think, okay, I know a lot of people that have endometriosis. Is this it?
Yeah.
And I go to my OB, I go to my gyno, And I'm essentially like, hey, what's the endometriosis thing and what could happen? And simultaneously, we're going to a fertility doctor who's telling us. And my biggest takeaway of all of that is no one gives a fuck why you can't get pregnant.
Yeah.
And you're having, I mean, all that I hear with you saying that is you had to do this. You had to, like, you put in all of the work.
100%.
Yeah.
And most people get zero answers. So I insisted on getting a laparoscopy, which is when they go in, because I had to have a DNC. So when I went to the fertility doctor, he essentially said there's polyps and all this stuff, and it might not affect it, but it could. And I'm just sitting there going, I need a clean slate here.
Yeah.
So when I was talking to them about it, it was essentially, I insisted on getting a laparoscopy from my gyno because I had had painful periods my whole life. I would like pass out in high school.
Oh, geez.
But also you like kind of put it on a pedestal of, this is the thing that will answer all the questions that I've ever had since I was young.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so I kind of insisted on it.
And good for you for doing that.
Yeah.
Good for you for advocating for yourself.
Well, and even then, it's interesting, and I don't know like how much experience you have with endometriosis or if you know anyone that has done it, but some people have different schools of thought of it's a little bit and it means nothing. And some people are like, any is horrible.
Yeah.
So this is such a long story. So
No, it's good. We have an hour.
Nothing but
essentially, I'll back up a little bit. So we go to the fertility doctor, and he's immediately in there. We weren't ready. Like Scoot and I are there. Scoot's my partner, Scott. And we go thinking we're going to get like a good talking to. And he's like, yep, we're going to go right in. And so I'm like, yeah, okay. I mean, a lot of people have been in there. We're good. But Scoot's never been in there for like someone doing a whole ultrasound and all the things. And so we had been told that this doctor essentially had like the worst bedside manner ever. And we're like, let's go.
Yeah.
I'm like, love making people uncomfortable. And so he puts the, whatever it was for the ultrasound, and we're looking at it. And I just look over at Scoot and I was like, this is what your dick sees on camera. And the nurse immediately is like, oh, and goes to like pretend wash her hands and is like losing her mind in the sink. And then the doctor doesn't miss a beat, and he's just in there and he's, doing the whole thing. And then he wraps up, and he was like about to walk out of the room, and he was like, and by the way, I really liked your joke.
Oh, that's funny.
And I said, okay, yeah, feel free to use that. And he just said, legally, I cannot. And left the room.
He's like laughing inside, but can't show it.
Yeah.
That's great. That was his way.
We ended
of
up loving
him.
But essentially, the result of that was you have polyps, we have this. So then the whole process is.
You had endometriosis.
No.
Oh.
That's not what the polyps were.
Okay.
So the endometriosis is what I would love to blame for the scar tissue. The polyps are, so I also had
like,
yes.
my husband had them in his nose.
Oh yeah, no, that's common,
Had
right?
to have them removed. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Very odd looking balls of flesh. I don't know.
it's
I don't even know
almost
what
just
they are.
like clutter. It's
Yeah.
clutter in your uterus.
Yeah.
And so, and there's like 15 things going on. So again, I just want to stress the point that they're like, we don't care what the problem is or why you're infertile. We just want to start doing IVF, period.
Yeah.
So they're like, can you give us $26,000? It's damn near never covered by insurance. And so you start paying.
So you felt like the immediate, like there was no bridging the gap from infertility to IVF.
No.
It was literally just
Their
there.
job is genuinely not to find out why you're infertile. Their job is to get you pregnant. And so they go straight in. So there's the option of IUI, which is essentially your turkey baster on steroids through a doctor. I'm sorry, your expensive turkey baster is what it is. And then there's IVF, which is where they create the embryo. So they're taking my eggs, they're taking Scoot's sperm, and they're combining. So basically
And
what
then
happens,
they let it live for a little bit, right? Like
Yeah, so the whole process is they're essentially shooting up, they take my hormones, we do blood work constantly.
Yeah.
And they're essentially giving me different hormones to get my eggs to overproduce. So,
Okay.
and this is where I'm going to circle back to the frozen embryo thing. So for me, a lot of times when you're older, you're producing less, you don't have as many and all of that. So I was kind of in the typical, we got 7.
Okay.
And what else is crazy about IVF is somehow you're paying them a ton of money to do all this stuff, and you're administering your shots yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So weird. I
You're
think that's
doing
so
all
weird.
Of it. I have no professional, we started completely unknown, and you're sitting there going, am I doing it right? Am I doing it the right time? Am I doing this? This is a $26,000 mistake.
Did you decide to do it right away? Like as soon as he went
got right
there,
into it.
You decided.
We got right into it, yeah. And so we went pretty fast. And that's the other thing is like there were a lot of wins for us in our process because a lot of people, it's a lot of back to the drawing board. We got to save money. We got to do this. We got to.
Well, how many retrievals did you do? One. Okay, because I've heard that a lot of people go in for 2 and 3 retrievals, which is also like makes it way more expensive and it can be really painful.
Oh, nothing about it is comfortable, but I also have a high pain tolerance. So it was like, that's another win where it's like, you really can't fuck with me. Like I feel like I must have a very, a body built for IVF at this point because it was like, I'm ready. I'm in.
She did unmedicated birth too.
Hell yeah, me too. But you also were not prepped for it, but knowing that many people
I had seen it.
I'd
had
heard
the process. It wasn't scary. And then there's actually a ton of Facebook groups too. So my cousin at the time was like, join this.
Yeah.
Not for me. I am not like a let me see all the
I tried to do it.
that happens. You can like search your doctor on there and even that was like terrible and I ended up loving ours. So it's like
yeah.
I think too often when you look at doctors, people, if you're not successful with a pregnancy, they blame the doctor and sometimes it's like it might maybe but maybe not.
Sure.
So essentially I'm giving myself shots.
Where are the shots? In your tummy or your butt?
Starts in tummy.
Okay.
Which is great. And again, I don't mind pain. And so I'm administering them. But my partner, Scott, is just disgusted by needles, disgusted by pain. So I'd be in the kitchen just like shoving a needle and he'd be like, oh, I'm going to be sick. And I was like,
oh,
are you kidding? Yeah, this is hard for you, huh? So it was just.
You're going through a lot. You just sit down.
Oh my God.
Do you feel queasy?
Yeah. A drink.
Just give me 1 second. I only got one free hand.
Just 1 sec. Yeah. I can't shake your cocktail with just one hand. Hold on. So so then we build up the eggs. So that's what's happening is you're, doing the hormones to overproduce and blah, blah, blah. But if you have something like PCOS, you're already overproducing.
Okay.
Which is, again, where I'm going to draw in the embryos that you can't save. So my best friend, Rhiannon, when she did this, she had 22 eggs that were taken out because she has PCOS, so she overproduces.
Right.
I had 7.
Right.
So... so the process is you shoot up the eggs, you're making these great, crazy eggs, you're crazy yourself.
Yeah.
And then they pull the eggs, they get a recent sperm sample, and they're combining them with sperm to make embryos. So then you're getting your checklist every day of they're calling you and saying, hey, we're watching this. This one matured.
Like a full-time
these 3,
job.
yes, these 3 went to the next phase. This did this.
That is
Yeah.
It's wild.
It's pretty cool.
But then you're scared. Like every time you get the call, you're like,
I mean, I can't imagine. It's all you're thinking about.
Yeah. And so we watched it go from 7 to then 4 to then 3. And once they get to the 3, you have the option to send them to genetic testing.
Okay.
So you're at this like fork in the road of if you send to genetic testing, if they come back viable, it depends on the doctor. But some doctors, including mine, only implant viable embryos.
Okay.
So if they're not viable, that means like the risk is just way higher of anything going on. There's, any sort of like chromosomal issue or anything like that. And so some doctors are just like, I don't fuck with that.
Yeah.
And it all comes back to numbers because they want their success rate to be high.
Yeah.
Not because the chances of it being successful for you.
Is that why twins and triplets happen? Because some doctors will do.
They used to do. So I ended up with 1 embryo because my 3 from genetic testing, 1 came back viable. I had 1 shot.
Wow.
And she's down the street right now.
Yeah. 1 shot. And she's honestly the cutest. She's to die
so cool.
for.
Oh.
So
she is to die for.
That makes me want to cry. That's great. She's so fucking
She's
cool.
the best.
But the odds were totally against us. But
Oh my God. And she's literally was the one out of
that.
She is your kid.
Yeah.
She's the one that's supposed to be your kid.
Who's so cool. Yeah. But no, the reason that happens or used to happen is they only do 1 now. They implant 1 embryo.
Yeah.
They used to like, if I would have gotten 8, they would have been like all 8. And that's that Kate crazy Kate lady.
Oh.
Oh yeah, what's her nuts?
Something about Kate.
Yeah,
That
Kate.
makes sense.
Yeah.
I didn't know that that's why though.
I
So
didn't know that
so it was
either.
either they would do that in hopes that one would stick,
Yeah.
but then often so many would stick. So now they don't do it just because it's a little bit more dangerous to carry multiples and all of that kind of stuff. So I don't know if it's completely off the table, but it's definitely not common anymore.
Okay. Wow, that's
And also, like you
So-
said, they want their success rate to be.
They want their numbers.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because you walk into doctor's offices and like their numbers are on a poster. Like, they've paid for a board to tell you how many success stories and all of that. And it's just like, this feels like a fraternity. This doesn't feel personal, whatever. But all that to say, I really liked our doctor. So then we have our embryo. You get an implantation date because now there's a trigger shot essentially that like you're watching for ovulation. You're doing the thing. So they're trying to time it perfectly to implant this. So you have your time and it's very exciting. And then essentially you go in, they implant, and then actually this is like a little IVF tidbit. The celebratory thing is getting a large fry at McDonald's.
Wait, really?
That's your good luck charm. So I did that.
Oh my gosh, I didn't. I mean, I don't know why I would know that. I guess
I don't know why it's the thing. And it was just like 55 people were like, "You gonna get your fries?"
Really?
And you're like, "Fuck yeah, I am."
And I was like, "Of course I'm gonna get the fries."
Aww.
So we go, and then
That's sweet.
you're supposed to be laying down, and you're essentially supposed to wait 10 days. And a lot of people are like, "Don't even take a pregnancy test. You come back for like the blood work."
Yeah.
But all these women, again, this like Facebook group, there's so many women on there that are doing them every day. And and actually this kind of breaks my heart because they've done it so many times that they're now keeping track of like the different tones of the pregnancy test of like if it maybe got a little darker this day. And so, when I say like IVF fucking sucks, but I had the best run I could have had. And there are so many other outcomes and so many other options and so many other things people are going through. But so essentially, I took a pregnancy test day 4 because I knew I was pregnant. I definitely thought it was a boy, but I knew 100%. My dog was inside of me. And I just knew.
That's where Tito lives right now.
Yes.
Inside of Amy.
Yes. I watched it.
He was inside of me 2 weeks before I knew I was.
That's what Nick was saying.
Literally, he was like escorting me places. And I was
So,
like, I know where the bathroom is, Tito. Thank you so much.
Well, and Maytag
like, it's right
follows
here.
me all the time. She never lays on me. So she was like on top of me.
Yeah, Tito tries to. And I'm like, no.
Yeah. And so it was like, something's up. But then I knew, and I took the test and it showed positive like pretty quickly. And Scoot was like, no, we wait 15 minutes. It said to wait 15 minutes. And then even then he was like, nope, we're supposed to wait 10 days. And I was like, so I'm texting all my cousins and all these IVF people. And I'm like, does this mean? And so we have like a picture of that moment. Cause it was like, I am 37 and I have taken so many pregnancy tests in my life.
Yeah.
Hopeful. A lot of them were hopeful. A lot of them were like, please not right now. But it was like, never had a positive one. This is
And it worked
crazy.
your first round.
And you just don't.
Your first try.
You just don't think it's going to. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But then everything with IVF is statistics. And so from then on, like every day was not real, where it was like, tell me what my chances are now. Tell me what my chances are now. And so
How
you're
long
like,
did they monitor you closely?
I think
how long
the
is that whole process?
The whole time. I got
really?
released, yes. And because I was with the IVF doctor, I think for the first 8 weeks. Then I went to my midwives.
Okay.
So I was released from IVF to midwives, but then I'm also in maternal fetal medicine because they think I'll be dead soon.
Yeah,
because
right.
of my
Amy too.
age.
She actually is dead.
Yeah, I've been dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
Crazy.
wild.
Yeah.
I look
So
great.
crazy.
Yeah, I know. And I was like, do I need to come in here with a fucking wheelchair? What are we doing, guys?
Yes.
Can we call it something different? Like
Yeah.
geriatric pregnancy. The sexiest, another t-shirt, the sexiest.
MILFs is that's what we would like to call it MILFs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just really wild. So, then I finally got released from that too, and I could just have this like normal time.
Yeah.
But because of the IVF, they were incredibly generous with ultrasounds. Like I could do way more than like when some people tell me they're like, yeah, no, I had like a couple, and I'm like, I had like 100.
Yeah.
And
but
you
yeah,
got the Doppler, right?
we had the Doppler.
so
I
at
had
home
everything.
you could just listen to the heartbeat.
We listened to our heartbeat constantly. Well, we listened to HIT. They told us it was a boy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, this was the other thing. We were just talking about this, but with the embryos, when they make the embryos,
Yeah.
they know the sex.
Yeah.
And
I
so
remember
for-
you learning that when you were considering IVF.
Yeah. And so for most people, they have more than one.
Yeah.
And so they've picked, like my cousins
Yeah.
got to select and
Yeah.
do this. And my best friend selected a boy and all of that. And so since we had one, we were like, do not tell us.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't want to make
Yeah.
any names for anything. We can't get, like, because the whole time I'm thinking,
You don't want to get your
there's
heart
no
broken.
way. Like, that was me from the very beginning until today.
Yeah.
Even I'm like,
Yeah.
there's no way you're real. But yeah, so I mean, it's like you try to be so protective and
Sure.
Yeah.
this isn't supposed to be happening.
Which is
There's
why
no
he was
way.
like, no, you have to wait 15 minutes. And no, we have to wait until 10 days.
You don't want to
Yeah.
break your
it was
own
like
heart over and
nonstop.
over.
Yes,
Yeah.
nonstop trying to like be protective. And
Yeah.
So yeah, they finally 8 weeks in, when we went to the midwives, we're like, okay, tell it. Because there was like a whole thing on our chart that was like, do not tell them.
Yeah.
Do not show
Yeah.
them this part on the ultrasound. And she said something like, there's a note here that you don't want to know. Just making sure. And I was like, well, I've been talking to a boy since I took the pregnancy test. And she was like, yeah, you have. And so we're like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And I was like, I knew it. And you feel so in tune with your body. And
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah.
6 weeks later, I had to go in for a urine test. And because I had the strep B or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that what's called, strep B?
Yeah.
I don't know. I forget everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I go and they're checking and I come out with my pee cup and I'm like sobbing. And the nurse is like, what is going on? I was like, when you do the test for strep B, will it tell you if I'm still pregnant? Because that was me every day, just sobbing in fear of like, oh my God, did I just step too hard on that step? Like, is it out? Did it fall out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she snuck me back to do an ultrasound and this sweet old woman that was doing it, who actually, I say that, but I'm joking because she fucked it up the first time. She was like, oh my God, she's fine. She's totally fine. Look, she's fine. And I was like, well, we're having a boy, so. And she's like, oh no, definitely a girl. And again, says the line, I've been doing this for 30 years. And I was like, bitch, if I had doing this one more time.
Yeah.
We're having a girl. So then I walk out going, I don't know what's happening.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's so
And so I
weird to
call my
think you're
partner.
having, like, connect with a boy and think
Yeah.
about it like a boy, like,
Truly, of like the
Yeah.
thing we were trying to avoid, where we were like, maybe we won't even find out till it comes out.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
we dive in, find out it's a boy. And then
Yeah.
the only doctor's appointment Scoot did not go to the entire time was this one because it was a simple urine
Yeah.
test. There was not supposed to be an ultrasound.
yeah.
And thank goodness, because I don't know how long we would have thought we're having.
Yeah, you would have
It's
painted a
good that
room
it did
blue.
happen.
But I called, I called him and I was like, this is
well,
this has to be the
Sit down
weirdest
for a
phone call.
second.
Yeah, I never thought I'd make this phone call. I was like, that boy that we named and talked about and planned, and like we had done a video where we're like, we found out you're a boy, and like all this stuff. I was like, we're having a girl. And it was the hardest thing to swallow for both of us because you're still so excited. This is the baby
Yeah.
you worked so hard for.
Yeah.
And I mean, so hard. And we both separately sobbed. I mean, because we were like mourning the boy that we had already
Yeah.
envisioned.
Yeah.
And it took us a while to tell each other that we were heartbroken. And so, because we were like, this feels ungrateful or
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
crazy of we never thought we'd have a baby and now we're being selective
Yeah.
about. And so it was like this very crazy process of like, so we mourned the son that we were never going to have.
Yeah.
And then we like had to get to know her, which was so weird because it
Yeah.
was just like, I've been calling you something for so long. So yeah.
Dang.
Okay, so talk about your pregnancy and your birth, and we want to know all of it.
Well,
How did
wait,
you feel?
Before we,
Oh, yeah,
I
go.
want to know so you're injecting yourself with hormones.
Yeah.
How many
Yes.
injections are there a day? What
Yes.
the hell did you feel like? Like,
Yep.
were you crazy?
So there's different sections.
Okay.
So when they're pumping up the eggs, it is the one in your stomach every day.
Okay.
And
Does
then
it
what
hurt?
happens?
What does it feel like?
No, like
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a very long needle, but it's so thin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you get used to it. Like it was just
And where
the
in
norm.
your tummy, like where your uterus is?
Yes. So it was actually funny because my entire life my dad had diabetes and I always watched him give himself shots. And so it felt like very familiar, weird.
Yeah.
God, so you really were just
I was ready.
prepped
You're like
for this
an
issue.
alumni.
Yeah.
And the other backstory of that is my mom had a really hard time getting pregnant. Her 2 aunts had a hard time getting pregnant, but still there is no like, oh, this could be genetic. Like there's no question like that with it of like, no one cares.
Yeah.
No one
cares
looks
what
into
happened.
anything that's happening to women.
Yeah. You found out? You heard? Yeah. So, it was that first, and then you kind of switch into something else. So when you actually get pregnant, you're still doing shots. So then it's the butt shots. Okay?
Oh.
So it's the
Just
different
to
hormones.
continue the...
It's progesterone. So
Okay.
it's the stuff your body is naturally
Yep.
releasing or should be naturally releasing. They're making sure. And so for me, I was saying this to Amy earlier too, I think I'm pretty imbalanced hormonally all the time.
Sure.
So something like I worked with this girl in New York who was donating her eggs. And so she was doing the shots. That girl damn near quit her job 17 times that summer. Like it was like, she is insane.
Yeah.
She's going off the rails all the time. She was always so calm and chill and like the backbone of everybody. And it was like
It fucked her up.
insane.
Yeah.
Insane. Well, I mean, there would be crying and sobbing and all this.
Oh.
I was a little bit more balanced than I thought I'd ever be,
Yeah.
which is exactly what happened when I was pregnant too. I was like a normal where I was like, this is probably everybody else, huh? And so it did not make me crazy, but the shots were different after you get pregnant. So then something else that we did too is all of our friends would give me the shots.
Oh.
So we have
cool.
a book
Yeah.
of pictures of all of them giving us shots. So like we'd be out at a bar and have to like go in this little bathroom and get a shot, and it'd be like us crouching in there, or you know, at Christmas at my friend's wedding, she's in her wedding dress,
Oh my
giving
gosh,
me one in the bathroom.
That's awesome.
Because we were like, and if you meet my partner, you'll understand. Like he's just down to make everything fun, and like you know, we were like, this sucks. Everything about this sucks, and you know. Simultaneously, right before we got pregnant, 2 of our best friends like accidentally got pregnant. And it just like, it's so hard to, and we've found out you can live in 2 spaces where you're so excited for someone and also just crushed and hate them so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, or at least the situation, not them, but you're like,
No, you're
I
sad
can't
for
wait
you.
to meet your
Yeah.
child.
Yeah.
Why is it so hard for me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we were like, at least this needs to be memorable. You know, if this results in a kid, if
Right.
we could at least have all these crazy stories and weird things
Yeah.
to tell her. So we have like all of these Polaroid books and
Oh, I
stuff.
love that.
So-
I love that.
But again, you know, you think back of like, I've also encountered people that have lost a baby like later on. And I'm like, what if we would have done all of that?
Yeah.
And then that someone else has gone through that. And so it's
Yeah.
like also every step of the way, like your success, you're like,
Yeah.
this is not what happened for someone else.
Totally.
And
Yeah.
so, you know, there's like weird guilt that comes into
Yeah.
play too, where it's like, and you know, it's interesting the different ways that it affects your family relationships. Like my cousin, there's a bunch, we're all so different. And like one is on her 6th kid and is like,
Oh, wow.
is definitely that kid in high school that they were like, if you have sex, you will get pregnant.
Yeah.
She was like, you're damn right. And so, you know, it's just crazy how it plays into like
Yeah.
every relationship in your life. And then
Yeah.
the things your mother tells you about her fertility journey that you
yeah.
would have never talked about.
Right.
And then how you feel like way closer to anyone else that's done IVF
I'm
during your
sure.
pregnancy than like the best friend you've had since you were born. Like
Right.
it's so interesting.
Yeah.
But my first trimester was horrible. The rest was a goddamn dream.
Oh, good.
Like you felt
Okay.
great.
Loved it.
Good.
Loved it. I was like
Wow.
on top of the world. And it was just like, once it was very visible, it was just like, this feels like a trophy for me.
Yeah.
Like, it just
Sure.
felt
It was
like-
true. I mean, absolutely.
It really just felt like, oh my God, I'm here and it's a good reminder and I can see it. And
Yeah.
like, here's the hard work and
I
all
think
of that.
most women feel that way. Like when you're really showing,
Yeah.
you're just like proud and you feel
Totally.
special. Because when I see,
Well, and everybody treats you
and
like you're really
everybody treats you
special,
like you're
too.
special.
Yeah.
Which also everyone was like, I hope you enjoy this. The minute the baby comes out, no one gives a fuck about
Yeah.
you.
It's
Yeah.
true.
They just want to hold the baby.
They
No one
literally
cares if you're
don't.
okay. And so I remember hearing that so many times when I was pregnant and everyone being like, can I get you anything? And by the way, no one's going to get you anything after the kid's out.
Yeah. You're like, okay, well, yeah, give me whatever then.
Yeah, no, I guess I'll have it. Yeah.
So did you have a midwife throughout the whole pregnancy?
So we had a midwife group. So there were 6 of them. And then we also had a doula. And so it was like, because that was the trade too. I had always pictured giving birth at home. And then, you come this far. And like Scott and I kept talking. It was freaking him out so much if it was at our house. And we have the perfect house for it. Like we have cement floors. So I was like, placenta could get everywhere here.
Totally, yeah. Bring it
Everywhere.
on.
Blood on the walls. It's easy to clean off. And it made him so nervous that I was like, that's not how I'm picturing it. Like the idea that you're just panicked the whole time sounds terrible.
Yeah.
So we had a doula, and
men
it was
are going to be
midway.
nervous regardless.
Yeah.
So let's not add to it if we don't need to. Yeah.
So she was essentially her whole thing. We interviewed 2 different doulas, but our doula, her whole thing was you will labor at home as long as possible. So we did that. She came to our house, and it was great.
Good.
Is that what
I
yours
love
said
it.
too? They want you to labor at
Well,
home?
yes, but I had to be induced both times because the boys measured so small. But that would have, but I labor so fast, I would have birthed at home
Yeah.
both times. But yeah, that was the plan and birthing centers, which is where I would have done it because I wanted to do wide at home on my second baby. But Chase was like, my husband was like, no, we're like, so we decided on middle ground of a birth center.
And they're so expensive.
Yeah. So expensive. And I didn't get to do birth center because I was induced, so was just at a hospital regardless. But the plan was to labor at home. And birth centers don't let you in until you're 5 centimeters dilated.
Really?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
or
I
at
didn't
least
know that.
the Vanderbilt, or where I wouldn't go to Vanderbilt. It was St. Thomas Birth Center.
Yeah.
They don't even let you in until I'm pretty sure it's 5
They have
centimeters.
a nice birthing center.
Yeah.
That's wild. I
Yeah.
would expect them to actually like have measuring be optional at a birthing center.
I know. Like one of my
you
good
said
friends
that too, because I had 200 cervical checks and like
Yeah.
300 people fisted me.
Yeah.
And you just had the option to say no?
My
And I guess I
midwives
did too, but I
never-
didn't know
Yeah,
that
you
I had the
can't.
option to say no.
Most midwives, from my understanding, don't recommend cervical checks.
Yes. So a
So
lot
why?
of like for bacteria purposes,
It can
anything
cause
like that.
infection.
Yeah.
And that was also something. So Brianna Roy is our doula, and she's incredible. And there was so much.
It's a cool name.
Yeah, she's so great. But there was so much shock that came with every visit to our house. Like that was a big thing. Is we had talked to 2, and they were both incredible. But she was coming to the house 3 times before birth.
Yeah.
And so she came with like 50 note cards, 2 sides, where it was like, do you want a doctor to cut the umbilical cord or your partner? Do you want this, this, this? And so it was like any question that would have been asked, we already answered it.
That's so cool.
Months
That's really
before we were
cool.
even in a hospital.
Well, and because that's the thing, and we've talked about having my doula on so many times, and we haven't, but that's the thing that I feel like a lot of people don't understand with a doula. A lot of people, I think, associate it with this like hippie dippy birth experience, when in reality, a doula wears many hats and does this. They are essentially a birth coach,
An
right?
advocate too.
But they're an advocate. That is what I feel like
But aren't
doulas
they
don't
an
get.
expensive advocate?
They're so worth it.
How much do you pay? Like, should I get a doula?
Oh, it totally depends.
Some of
I
my-
think,
like,
but
how much do you pay a doula?
I think you would love a doula.
they're amazing.
But I'm having a scheduled
I
C-section.
Mark my words. I'm like, the one piece of advice that I'll say this first, and then I'll say what I was going to say. The one piece of advice that Chase gives any man who has never had a kid before is always get a doula, because he always says not just for your wife or your partner, but for you as well.
We had an entire session that was her coming there for Scoot.
Yes.
This is what you can do. This is the anti-pressure. This is the counter-pressure. This is the ways that you can be helpful. Here's the what. Even to the idea that like my water, she said, have something with a straw. And I remember being in labor thinking, oh my God, if I was trying to tip something up to drink it, I would fucking lose it.
But he
like,
knew to have
any
a straw
position I'm
because-
in, I can be drinking from a straw. And so it's like, it doesn't matter. She's not helping you give birth. Like she's not catching the baby. She's not a part of it. It's genuinely, she is the advocate for both you and your partner.
Both of you.
And there are so many more options with C-sections than you would even think.
Yeah.
Of like, yes. And I've had so many friends that have had planned versus emergency where, you get to have different options. And a lot of times with the C-section, they automatically give the baby to your partner to hold first.
Yeah.
And there's a different way to do that too.
They did that with
you
Nick,
want
I
the
think.
chest, you want the yeah.
Yeah.
So there actually are just so many options, and I think
Yeah.
that's
I didn't know.
the other thing is you don't
Would
recognize.
you do it for a second baby?
I think so. I mean, she's like, part of our little crew now.
Yeah, sweet.
And you did doula for both?
Both. I wouldn't birth without a doula.
Really?
But also something could happen. A surprise could just because you've done it before. The next one's totally new.
Oh, it's so different.
Yeah.
But with Eli, my first baby, he was 5 pounds even when he was born, and so he was super, super small and so tiny. At full term too. I make him small.
So little.
But Molly, my doula, the first time, they were gonna take E away to go put him. I don't know, because he measured like a preemie essentially, and so they were gonna go do. I don't know if it was put him under.
Get him a
lights
tan.
or do whatever they needed to do. And Chase and I, it was our first experience. We had no idea. All that we knew was that he was small and that they needed to take him away. And Molly said, whoa, before you take him, because I hadn't even gotten to lay him on my chest. And Molly fought for it. She said, what is the weight minimum? And they said I think it was either 5 pounds or 5 pounds 1 ounce. And she said, he is 5 pounds. That baby stays in here with her. And so that alone was
crazy.
worth having her, because
That's
I would not
amazing.
have had Eli on my chest had it not been for my doula.
That's fucking nuts.
And that was
one of the
best
cards.
example of what a doula is it's an advocate.
they would have
because,
taken your baby out of the room without giving him to you?
Yes.
What?
And
one of the-
Molly literally was like, absolutely not. But Chase and I didn't know. We were like,
you would
this
have
is
thought
what
it's what's best for the baby.
Yeah.
Well, and you're taught doctors know best.
Yeah.
And there's so many aspects of that where it's like, I'm not like anti-doctors.
Sure.
But oh my God, I'm anti not knowing your rights or your
Yes.
options.
It's options that
Yes.
we aren't given or made aware of that
Yes.
we absolutely need to be given and made aware of.
And I also didn't realize too, like she left twice because she had to go get something checked out. And it was like, there were 2 times where they had also asked to take her. And I said, can you come do it in here? And the answer was yes.
Yeah.
And so it was like, and the other 2 times Scoot went with her. Like there was no,
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have known that was an option either. We would have sat in the room together a little panicked. But the fact that he could go with her, and that was one of like our doula questions of if they have to take her somewhere, do you want to go with her? Does he want to go with her? Do you guys want to stay in the room? And
I love that she had it on cards.
Yeah, I love that.
well, because then you can
That's
take a
so
picture
cool.
of it, and now you're chatting about it. Because there were 2 we ended up flipping. But what was cool is, I mean, there really were about like 50 or 60. And then she said, tell me your 3 non-negotiables.
Oh, that's a great
Because it was like, there
system.
might be some, that it comes down to where it's like,
Great system.
So it was wonderful. And it was definitely in the moment, my brain was not giving to that at all. So not only had she already heard my answers and knew my plan, but Scoot was like more confident too, because he was like,
And you
I
were
have
hemorrhaging and
someone-
passing out, so you
terrible.
needed someone. That happened to her too.
Yeah.
and after
You needed someone to vouch for you.
And
Yeah.
she stayed with us 2 hours out. So this is like the C-section thing too. It's not just during the labor, during the birth or anything like that.
It's after.
There's after as well where like I didn't know that we could wait for some eye stuff. I had no idea. Like I would have just said like, yeah, you guys do this every day. Go ahead.
Yeah.
And it was like she was on me for 4 hours straight before they even did anything. And
awesome.
even the hat is an option,
Yeah.
which I didn't recognize or realize. And they're like, yeah, it's going to freeze. My kid is fine. My kid is fine. And we did not have a hat.
Right.
We were just, my hand was on her head.
Yeah.
We were okay.
Yeah.
And, I also am like, I don't think there's a right or wrong flip. It's whatever you want.
Yeah,
Just know that
yeah.
it can be what you
For
want.
sure.
Yeah.
And so, but I think that's the thing with doula
I
too,
feel
is
like
it's after as well.
My birth, not to like make this about me, but I feel like my birth and my birth story and like everything was literally ripped away from me and taken away from me. Every option was taken away from me. Every bit of understanding and compassion was taken away from me. And I feel like it was the antithesis of everything I wanted. So maybe I will do.
I think it would
highly
be such a good fit
recommend.
for you.
Because I don't want to hate this birth. Like I don't want to hate this experience.
Yeah. You
And I
don't
feel
deserve
like in
to.
my mind, I'm just like gonna forfeit. I'm like, well, I already did a C-section, so I'll just have another C-section, and my birth stories are gonna fucking suck, but the kids are great.
It's
And
so
it's
does
funny
that
that you
how
already
I
think,
feel
because
that
there's so
way.
many different elements of it.
Yeah, I already feel that way. I already feel like all of this is going to be terrible, but I'll get the baby,
Yeah.
and that's the prize.
Yeah.
But I
Hell no.
forfeit everything that's enjoyable for me.
Actually,
That's
with
how I feel.
C-section, I feel like sometimes it can be such a beautiful, incredible thing because it's planned, you're stationary.
Yeah.
And I've seen some amazing videos from it too. Like there's so often that people are like, you're not allowed to videotape in here, whatever. But I think what's nice is it is a scenario where you can actually properly plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that can be a benefit where it's like,
yeah.
I think a
say
plan
goodbye to
is better than a
Farrah.
surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Oh, the emergency was like an absolute
Yeah.
fucking nightmare.
yeah.
You definitely deserve a redemption birth. You deserve
100%.
to.
We need a comeback story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it's
You should think
worth
about it.
like looking into. I never even considered. It's weird because I just don't even consider it worth spending money on me.
Yeah.
It's like a weird fucked up thing where
Yeah.
it's
I
like
think
I'll
it's
spend
less than
any
you think it
amount
is.
of baby stuff, any
Yeah.
amount for anything. But like when it comes to me, I'm so like willing to forfeit my comfort
Yeah.
to just get the end result.
Right.
Like that's just how I feel. But it might be, I mean, in my mind, it's like thousands and thousands of dollars a
Nope.
month. And
Oh no.
No.
No. Not
What?
at all.
like,
No.
what's a range? Like, what's a normal range? I know
I
they
don't
vary
even-
Under 2. I was quoted several times and they were both under 2.
for the whole thing.
Yeah, it's just a one-time payment.
Under $2,000 for the whole thing.
And actually, the one option too, there are some doulas like our midwives offered a doula. And so it was covered by the hospital, but then it was very, they had rules where she was like, I actually can't come to your house after. I can do one visit before because this is what the hospital is paying me for. And they're telling me not to overstep. But that's the difference too. Like she'll also, well, she could come to your house after as well. Like some doulas will make a meal after.
Yeah, my doula
And-
was the second
Like,
time.
your doula is like one of your best friends.
She came over to the house. Like that was what she really emphasized. Like, yes, she's there for birth, obviously.
Yeah.
But her big thing was whatever Chase needs, whatever you need. If y'all need meals, if you need me to watch Eli, like she was and she would, check on me and do things with me.
Yeah.
But it was very much the aftermath that
Yeah.
she really, really focused on.
The
which was
acknowledgement
cool.
of like, and it was helping prep Scoot too,
Yeah.
of like, Kalli takes care of the baby, you take care of Kalli.
Yeah.
And anytime the baby's eating, you're feeding Kalli. Anytime the baby's drinking, you're giving Kalli. Like, so it was a very nice thing too, to like, even after not have to be like,
Yeah.
can you get me something? Can you do
Right.
this? And it was like, he is ready. There is a plan.
Yeah.
This is happening.
Yeah.
And she also was like a very big advocate of the 5-5-5 rule.
Oh, I don't know that one.
It's basically 5 days in bed, 5
Oh,
days
yeah.
on the
Yeah, yeah,
bed,
yeah.
5 days near the bed. And also it was a lot of discussion of like family and are people coming over right after? Are people not coming over? Do you need some space? Do you need this?
Yeah.
What's your plan? And what are your boundaries that you can talk about before?
Yeah.
And so it was the whole package. I mean, it
That's
was
so great.
It was great. She was
Yeah.
great. And I think it made all the difference. And I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
I really think you would eat it right up. I
Yeah.
think it's such a good fit for
Well,
you.
and Ames, there is a chance that you go into labor.
Yeah.
You
Actually,
know?
that's true too.
And if you have a scheduled
That's-
C-section,
yeah.
that's one thing, obviously. But if you go into labor, she would be able to help you
Through that.
through contractions
Yeah.
until until it's time.
I mean, that's definitely
do the
worth
C-section.
$2,000.
100%.
And she could apply the counter pressure.
I can
or
put
tell
off
Nick
my
how to do it.
I can put off
and-
my blepharoplasty another couple years
Yeah,
for a
it would be
doula.
worth it.
My blepharoplasty.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I'm giving you a face for a very specific reason.
I'm not having it until after the fatigue of the second child, but I will have my eyelids done, you people. I will.
Have you read Fourth Trimester?
No.
Let's go. You have to read.
It's good?
It's so good. It's all about you. It's all about you and what your body's doing after, and like
I want to.
how so many women are just thrown to the wolves. Where it's
Yeah.
like your job's done now, and
Yep.
you're just.
You're
I mean,
trashed. The fourth trimester,
we've
you
had
are
surgery.
trashed.
We've
Yeah.
all of the things. We're not on any pain pills. It's just
Right.
like go
It's
on.
awful.
Right.
You
And you
get
have to
3
stay awake
hours
for
off
2
work.
months.
Yeah,
You have to stay awake for 2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or longer,
Or longer
no one's
with a
checking
baby
in.
that won't sleep.
Because
or-
there are so many cultures where you go to your or mother-in-law's house, and they just take care of you.
Yeah.
You're not even at your own house, so you don't
Greek
feel like
people.
you need to clean.
Greek people
and
do
you get
that.
a year off of work.
Yeah, and my mom was ready to move in with us, and
Yeah.
I was so hesitant because I'm very independent, and I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't want anyone looking at how I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know how to hold a baby at this point. Like, it's so small, and so I was very stubborn, and I broke down like 10 days in because it was like
You need help.
postpartum.
Yeah.
I'm having a mental breakdown,
Yeah.
like scream crying, and Scoot's like,
Yeah, we're fine.
how we doing? Yeah, can I call your mom, or can I call anyone, or can I move out?
Yeah. Oh, it's scary. There were
I
times.
was terrified of my own brain.
There were
Yeah,
times
yeah.
where I was like, I am a shell of a human.
I'm a psychopath.
Yeah, like I do not feel human.
And you know that you are, and you can't do anything about it. That's the scary part.
you are
You can,
completely
like,
out of control with
Witness
hormones.
yourself
Yeah.
and hear yourself, and you're like, oh my God.
And
but
God
you're like,
forbid-
I can't do anything about
God
then the
forbid,
whole
look at
time-
yourself in
Right,
the mirror.
yeah, yeah,
Ooh.
When I say my dad walked in on Scoot helping me, like they all busted in.
Oh no.
We had all the boundaries of you guys can come the first day she's born. Everyone will meet her. We'll get that little picture with you in the
Yeah.
hospital and then get the hell away from us for the 555.
Yeah.
Scoot's parents drive in from Michigan. All of a sudden it's day 2. I have to get a bunch of blood because I had lost so much blood. So I'm sitting there with an IV hooked up and we text them of like, hey, if you guys want to stop by on your way out of town, they're all at lunch together next to the hospital.
Waiting
My
for the
parents
text.
my parents aren't even together. My mom is remarried and they're all at the restaurant next to the hospital, ready to come over.
literally
Yeah.
waiting for
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
text.
They don't respond because in their brains they're nervous we're going to change our minds. The next thing I know, 5 of them are rolling in our room and I am full blood out. With my ripped labia. And I was like, Dad, get the fuck out of here. I was just like, this isn't how I planned it. Yeah. Yeah. So
Your dad's like, I can't unsee that.
oh my
and
God.
him
No, he's just beaming with excitement of like, he only saw the baby. I don't even think
Yeah.
he looked at my labia.
Yeah,
he didn't
no
look
one
at your
cares
labia.
about me.
Right.
Yeah.
He didn't
Well, and
even
him-
look
No one
at
cares about my labia.
Hemorrhaging postpartum's like a whole different level of ick
Jesus
too. Because
Christ.
because I hemorrhaged as well.
Yeah.
So I was scared to sneeze because I sneezed 3 different times postpartum, which is scary regardless. But every time I sneezed, a blood clot, the biggest one was
shoot.
this big. Like they all got weighed every single time. Like they were big.
And when they give you the warning, if it's smaller than a golf ball, you're
Yes.
like, no.
Yes.
Whoa.
And none of mine were the first 3. And so I remember being so scared to sneeze for so long postpartum because I was like, blood.
Well, I had one clot and it's when I passed out and went back to the ER at my house. And
oh
like,
my God.
oh my God. We were home for 2 days, had the baby there. I didn't have an appetite at all after I
Yeah.
gave birth. Like
Oh,
everyone
wow.
had their
Really?
like big sushi
Yeah.
meal and I was like,
I was a ravenous monster.
I was too.
No,
I
I
would have
was
eaten
disgu-
chase if food didn't come on in the room.
I was
earlier.
dead.
I was
I was
like,
like,
go
I don't want to
get
eat,
me
I don't want to
everything.
drink, I don't want to feel.
Oh,
I just want to hold the baby. I just want to stare at
Yeah,
her.
aw.
And but so essentially we get home and it was like 2 days later, I think, and I had looked at I woke up in like a cold sweat and I looked at him and I was like, do I have a fever? And he was like, oh gosh, no. And then I like went to pee and the blood clot happened and I was like, oh, cramp. And I remember leaving it on the sink because I was like, we're going to have to measure that later.
Yeah.
So I left it on the sink for Scoot to like grab his tape measure or something later. And I'm like going back and I was like,
I love her. I love her. I love her. I love her.
here we go. And I like walk back and I was like, oh shit, I'm going to pass out. And I'm like sliding down the bed. And he was like, what's going on? I was like, you have to call someone. Because all I'm thinking is, I can't die. I can't die right now.
Scary,
Yeah, I just had
Oh
my
my God.
baby.
So he calls the ER or calls the people to come pick me up in the ambulance or whatever.
Oh.
It is a 20-year-old child. This poor boy. I'm in my adult diaper on the ground.
Right.
In my very disgusting bra. And curled up in the fetal position because I can't move and the floor is really cold and it feels
Oh my
wonderful.
God.
Well, I have like very low blood pressure as well. And so it was all happening at once. Honestly, I should have eaten a burger and I would have been fine. That's not how it went. And so they pick me up and this poor little 20-year-old, we get in the back of the ambulance. They have like put me in. I'm in my very cute outfit. And I'm like screaming at Scoot, like, bring me sweats. Bring me sweats. And then I was like, I have to feed her in 10 minutes. And they're all like, that's definitely not happening. So he jumps in the car and is following me. But the guy in the ambulance is like, I don't have any babies, but I heard it's really hard. And I was like, maybe we don't have to talk the rest of the time.
You're like, maybe we don't talk.
Yeah, maybe this is a silent ride. And the fucking I have her end of September, and they're on the ambulance doors. They have those bloody handprints. Like Halloween. I was like, this is the worst thing ever. So it's just me looking at bloody handprints like as a joke on the back of this thing. And we go, and it was whatever. I got like more fluids and shit, but it was just like, when does this
scary.
stop? You think you're going to give birth and the labor's over and it's fine now.
Yeah.
And they're like, nope, we're going to stitch your labia. We have to shove a bunch of shit into you to stop the bleeding. You're going to be in pain. You're constantly bleeding. It was just like, I wasn't ready to be.
Wait, when was the first poop?
I did it the day of both
I
times.
did it literally,
Really?
Hours, and it was not painful at all.
No, it wasn't bad. I think it was hyped up so badly that
Everyone hypes it up so much.
It was
I
fine.
didn't. I had a C-section and it wasn't even a big deal for me.
I
Yeah,
did
it
have
was
a friend that
fine.
had a C-section and ended up having to, her husband was trying to get shit out of her.
No, like-
is going in to get it.
Like
it
literally
was-
pulling poop out of her butt. Those are the stories I've heard, where people have had to put gloves on and manually take shit out of.
oh my God.
Yeah,
I don't know how soon you have sex right after.
yeah. You
Yeah, how long do you wait? Do you talk about it?
after you've had poop pulled out of your asshole.
Do you shake
by your
hands
partner?
after?
Like
Have-
one
put it
fuck
in
next
their
week.
plan.
Hey, thank you for your
Well,
service.
thank you so much.
No, I really appreciate you.
Oh, God.
What was after? So you tore her really bad.
A lab.
How,
And
what did
it's
you
actually
tear?
still like some sort of a cleft lip.
Really? How did
It never came back together.
Does it hurt?
It shredded. Every once in a while I can feel it. I had gone back in for like your 6-week checkup.
Yeah.
And well, actually, okay. Our family is incredibly comfortable with each other, way too comfortable to the point where like if anyone's new, like in the dating of the family and you come to a holiday, they're like, why do they talk about shitting so much? So essentially my aunt and my cousin are both work in hospitals in different realms. And so I had like not looked at it for a minute. And I had all of a sudden I was like looking at it in this mirror and I was like, Scoot, has it been like this the whole time? And he was like, I don't know, I guess I haven't eyeballed it hard enough. And I was like, did we get any before pictures? And so he goes,
After your spank bank.
the next thing I know, I'm having him hold my phone, FaceTiming my aunt. She's at the hospital, answers, it's puss forward, and you're in there. And I was like, Denise. And she was like, Kalli, I'm actually at lunch with everyone. Can I get, I was like, you can get up from the table. I'm not hanging up. I need you to look at this.
Oh, God.
And so I'm calling her and she goes, oh, what the fuck? And that's her. And this is my aunt that has 6 children and they have put her through hell and back. 5 of them are boys. And I was like, she did not just react like that. She is the most calm person ever. So what had happened, because they had said like the stitches will fall out or whatever. And all of a sudden I'm like opening. And it is like, they had tried to close my vagina.
No!
Something with the stitches was weird, plus labia tear. And I was like, this can't be right. And she was like, what the fuck? And so then, then she calls my mom while I simultaneously call her daughter, again, with my FaceTime, with my vagina, as Scoot's holding it. And he's like, I never thought I'd be on this end of the FaceTime of your vagina. I thought I'd really be on the receiving end of this. And so then my cousin pulls over. She's in the car with her 11-year-old. Again, she's pregnant with her 6th kid because that part of the family has no problem.
So many babies.
And so she pulls over on the side of the road with her 11-year-old, and we're just fully having this conversation again. And she was like, I don't know, I don't think it looks that terrible. And we're kind of talking about it, and then all of a sudden my mom's cousin is calling me or texting me and was like, you know that if you have any labia questions, you're supposed to ask me about it. And I was like, how many people know? How many people did you guys call?
Do we have a
after I
labia
called you?
group chat now?
Yes. So now I'm getting like, supportive texts from the whole family. And I go in for my 6-week appointment, and because I had called to be like, I don't know if it's ever going to open up again. So, and she's looking at it and she was like, well, not, good, not great. And the end of it, like it had started falling, or the other stitches had started coming out, but my labia had like completely split and never went back together. And she was like, we can go back and fix this. But if you have another kid and this happens again, now we're, and so she was like, if you're done having kids, let's fix it. If you're not, let's revisit this later. So I was like, I'm going to see if it functions okay.
Yeah.
It does. So it's fine. Now it feels a little gangster.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
What's up?
I mean, I can't feel it right
It's
now.
like a
yeah.
gangster puss.
Yeah, how many do you guys have? I have a bunch. An Audi. It is
Wow. So did you have a regular tear?
just the side. It was just the labia.
Okay.
It was just the labia, but I think
What position did you birth in? Or deliver?
Kneeling like this.
on all fours on the hospital floor.
Oh, okay, I did all fours too.
I was up on, that was the bed.
That's what
and
I
that was
did
me.
with my second.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I crawled out of the bathroom on my knees
hell
and
yeah.
was just like, this is going to be it.
Yeah. This is where I am.
Yeah, this will be it.
I would like rest in between. Well, whatever. You get the image, but yeah. I mean, just rest because they like prop the bed up. Or no, I propped the bed up because I learned that I could rest on my elbows in between contractions and then I would prop myself back up. And the sounds that came out of my mouth too, like talk about being just in the most primal position, just sounding like a primal cave woman.
Like a beast.
Oh
You
my
sounded like a
God.
beast in the video that
Oh my God.
yeah, it's
It was
crazy.
like really crazy.
yeah, like
so
things I don't
wild.
think I could repeat if I tried.
No.
It just
No.
you're not in control
No, you're
of
really
those
not.
sounds. Your
Oh my
body
God,
is
You're really not.
I mean, it is a human coming out of your
Yeah.
small.
But I was
vagina.
quick too. You were quick?
Yeah, under 4 hours.
I was at the hospital for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I pushed for like 10.
Yeah, that's how it was. And so it was. That's why you hemorrhaged. Probably that's why I hemorrhaged
Because it was too quick?
Yeah, fast. That was one thing. My doula this time, because I'm sitting there. There was a point. I don't think I ever told my birth story actually with Wyatt on the podcast. But
Yeah.
and it was 4 hours with induction included. So that means I was absolutely not in labor when I went in there, and it still was under
was
4
that
hours.
fast.
I mean, it was
And it's typically
scary
not.
fast.
Induction,
no, induction
I was
usually takes
literally 2 days in there for 2 days.
That's
Yeah,
Before
it'll
I got a
slow some people
C-section.
down. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's typically what it is. And that's why the doctors didn't believe us my doctor was not in the room for both deliveries because my husband and I were like, no, like it's the baby's coming. Like I know I can feel him. And both times they were like, the second time they said, is this your first delivery? And I wanted to be
when they
like,
talk down to you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great.
it's like, no, I can feel he's right
Yeah.
fucking there.
Yeah.
I
Just see
know
the
he's
head.
right there.
Just see
Yeah.
the head.
Like literally he's right there. I can
Yeah.
feel everything.
Does it feel like it's coming out of your butthole?
It feels like your butthole is coming out of your body.
Scoot said my butthole was opening and close because he was behind. he caught her, and so he was behind, and he was like,
That's cute because
Yeah.
Chase caught my poop. Literally, I'm on all fours.
just like you guys always planned.
Yeah, literally, I'm on all fours like this, and I'm watching, and I see a little pellet fall out, and I was like, "Chase, get my poop, pick it up." 'Cause I like the thought of just knowing it was there on the table. I was like, "Chase, please just clean up my poop."
He's looking at it.
It's there.
You can't focus if there's
No.
Can you
Get
just
the
put
poop
that in the
gone.
baby book?
Get the poop gone.
Yeah,
Oh
save
my
it. Save it
God.
for the scrapbook.
But anyways, back to
what
the
if in all the
doula and
pictures
hemorrhaging.
there was
That was the
one
first
pellet
poop.
of
It was my
the
first
pellet.
poop.
Save the pellet. But that was one thing that my doula this time really helped me with because, you hear hemorrhage and I'm like feeling all the feels of hemorrhaging to a point where I was like, Chase, you need to hold Wyatt. I don't trust
I
myself.
definitely was like, I think I could be bleeding.
Yeah.
Like it was definitely a scary moment where it was
the
like
doctors made me feel that way too. They were like,
I could see her panicking.
yeah, it was a very, very scary. It was a full 2 hours of just absolute fear. And I was so lightheaded and weak that I couldn't even hold my brand new baby. And I'm looking at my doula like, because they're trying to give me all these medications and all these IVs. And I just had a fucking unmedicated birth. I don't want to
They were shoving shit in my cheek to clot.
Yeah.
And I was like, if you think there's saliva in this body.
Right. It's not. It's all out.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at my doula. I'm like, do I just agree to all of these medications? And she said, here's what I want you to know. She said, you are probably hemorrhaging because of how fast Wyatt just came out of you. She said, this is super common.
Yeah. And he's out now, so take whatever.
Right. And so that was I'll never forget her like bringing me down from just the fear of like I am bleeding out, which like I kind of was, but her being like, this is part of it. It's your body responding to a really quick labor that
like trauma.
Yeah. And then my placenta wouldn't come out. That was a grueling 30 minutes of literally the doctor with it
yanking.
the umbilical cord
Oh.
still attached to the placenta.
Oh.
Her sitting on the other end of me, just going, just trying to get it out.
No.
Mine's in my
It
freezer
was
right now.
horrible. Wow. Are you going to do anything with it?
We were going to encapsulate.
Yeah.
Didn't prepare soon enough. So then had to have my dad sneak it out in a freezer, like in a cooler. Because they also do this thing. If it's not gone in 2 hours, they take it.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a chunk of my body. I'll keep that. Thank you.
A big chunk.
So at the very least, we had gotten her, Scooter got me a weeping willow from the Mother's Day before she got there. And so I was like, at the very least, I'll bury it under the tree.
Yeah.
You guys do not get to keep my placenta.
Yeah.
But they also do like menopausal oils now with it too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you'll
Yeah.
do something.
Something.
Yeah.
I'll
It's
hang
pretty
it from the
fascinating.
rafters.
Yeah.
Just gonna throw it away.
You guys are such
at this
fucking
point, you just
hippies.
throw it away.
I know. I'm like, can we go get some drinks later? And
Yeah.
talk
Do you
about
want some of it? It's
There's plenty
actually,
to go
Christmas
around.
gifts this year. Stocking stuffers. No.
Oh,
I put a little in the kids' stockings every year.
Yeah.
Just
to
love you
have
guys
a
You
so
would
little
much.
start making
appetizer.
jewelry out of it. Here's a cute little ring. You know.
All right, well, now you're onto something because I'm not against that at all. Yeah.
Not a
I
bad idea.
could see
You said
like
friendship
really
bracelets?
crunchy people making like jewelry out of placenta.
For sure.
Oh my God, my best
I
friend
could
has the
see
umbilical
that,
cord
for
and the
sure.
heart in a frame and of the little thing, and it's like the wall art.
Oof.
Stunning.
Stunning. So how old is Athena now?
She is 7 months as of like 2 days ago or something. Yeah.
She's so beautiful.
Oh.
Cool.
And
And
you
it's
guys-
really
funny.
fun now.
Oh, 7 months is a great age.
So funny.
And you guys are gonna try IVF again.
Really? I didn't even think to ask. Macy. Oh my
You're
gosh.
so cute. Yeah, and it's the weird part of we have to fully start over again because
Okay.
So what's cool for some people is when you have a ton of embryos, unless you live in Alabama,
Right.
you can circle back, and so it's like we just start. So you kind of start halfway through.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to do the thing where they pump up the eggs and then
Okay.
You're gonna have
the
to
whole
do the
thing
whole
again.
process.
So our expectations are pretty low of like,
Sure.
damn, we got one that first time. That was awesome. And it worked. So you want to be happy with that. But
Yeah.
I think we're like, you can't sleep at night if you don't do it again. I think we're
You
at
don't
that
try.
point. And we're also
Yeah.
incredibly open to adoption and have talked about that either
Yeah,
way.
cool.
I have a lot of people that have been adopted in my family. And
Okay.
so we've had that
You
discussion.
should start the
but-
process like me, and then you'll just get pregnant.
Yeah.
But that's the other thing.
The IVF
is-
will work.
Oh my God.
If you start adopting,
every-
the IVF
yeah.
will work.
But everyone says to you, "Oh, well, now you've had a baby. Now your body knows what to do," and you're like, "Oh, for fuck's."
Wait, people say that? Like
Oh,
multiple people have said
nonstop.
that?
And everyone
said
always
that
wants
to
to
me
be
a lot.
really sweet and like encouraging to you of like,
Yeah.
well, this happened to my friend, and you're like, I don't give a fuck about your friend.
Yeah.
I couldn't care less about your friend. I don't care what miracle happened for what weird The reason
Yeah.
you're telling me this story is because it's so uncommon.
Yeah.
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 So stop telling me the story.
That's a great way to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because it was like such a crazy
No,
story.
it's not. It's not like people are walking around saying like she blinked 3 times.
Yeah,
Like
it happens to everybody.
right.
So that's really annoying. But also the process. I stopped breastfeeding like a month ago because if you want to do it again, you have to. Most want you to stop breastfeeding for like 6 months or something, or
Yeah.
be done breastfeeding
Yeah.
for 6 months because they want your cycle to come back. So
Right.
that was kind of a
it
weird.
has to be a consistent cycle, right?
Yes.
For them to learn and
Yeah, to figure out your ovulation and everything. But that was also the other part of like me battling of, okay, I'm going to cut this earlier than I would if we were able to just conceive
Sure.
naturally, or if I
Yeah.
was of a younger age.
Yeah.
And so there was like a ton of guilt involved
Oh,
in cutting
yeah.
that. And we bought a deep freezer. I saved a shit ton of milk, so we
Yeah.
at least have it for the next 6 months. But
Oh, well, great.
but yeah, I mean, there was that like weird thing of what if we don't have a baby and
Yeah.
then I feel bad because I stopped and then I was just like,
Yeah.
fuck that. Some people never do, and good for them.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
fine. And
Yeah.
just show me the kid that didn't get into college because they were like, I think this kid did not
That's
breastfeed.
what you always say.
Yeah. Was this kid?
She's
was
like
this
formula fed kids go to college, too.
Also, who cares about college? Okay.
yeah, exactly.
Also that.
Well, I was saying that to Amy too. I don't even think college is going to be around when my kid is
Probably
college
not.
age. Like,
Yeah.
I think we're winding it down on
Yeah.
school systems at some point.
Probably not.
But yeah, that's
Like
a whole nother-
nobody I know needed their degree to do what they do anymore.
No. Especially since COVID like careers have become a totally different animal.
Yeah.
My biggest accomplishment, I think, was, well, meeting some friends, but also just watching Dawson's Creek for the first time.
Oh,
That was great for me.
Yeah, that's great.
That was my biggest college memory.
So you're going to start that fairly soon, right?
We're going to check in with them. I don't know. That's the other thing about so much mystery around the IVF when people are doing it. Like, everyone's so quiet. My cousins are so quiet about it. And because you don't want people to ask you.
You don't want to be,
when you don't want to get your
have
hopes
to tell
up
people.
and-
Well, and you don't want to have to
or-
answer. Yes, you don't want to have to answer. And so it's really hard, and it's so even going through it, there's no right way to like ask someone else going through it. And so it's like it's so isolating because you feel so alone. You feel like anytime I'm not drinking or something and someone's like, "Oh, I noticed you were drinking, are you?" And you're like, "Please, no.
Yeah.
Can I just be
Can I
normal
just
and can you not
exist?
guess everything I'm doing?"
Yeah.
So it's hard, but yeah, we're going, and I don't know when we're gonna get into it. I'm ready. I'm like, if we're doing it, let's fucking do it.
Yeah.
But
I
I
assume
just
you'll
don't
use
know.
the same doctor.
We are, yeah,
Cool. That's
yeah.
gotta feel
We really
good.
liked him.
Good.
He ended up being really, and it's like I don't give a fuck about bedside manner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are
Just do
you
your
good
job.
at your job?
Yeah.
Just do your job.
Yeah.
And he ended up being like really funny and having dry humor. that
Good.
We appreciated
I
anyway.
loved your
so-
penis joke.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That got
And
him.
Also,
That hooked him in.
so when they went to retrieve the eggs, they put you out when they go to
Okay,
like get
so you're
everything.
asleep.
So you're out. And as I'm going, they're like counting or something or having you count or whatever it was. And I just said, this many people have never seen it at the same time. And then I wake up and because it was like the anesthesiologist, it was the doctor, it was the nurse, it was all these people. And I was like, And they're all like, just happy to be there. I'm sure they wanted to hear me
Like,
say that.
pleasure's all ours.
Yeah, I was like, this many people have never seen it at the same time. But yeah, so we loved him. And we actually like took her in a couple of times to be like, look what you guys made.
Oh, that's so
that's
cute.
gotta
Because
feel really
the
good for
midwives
them.
were upstairs from where that was because he was in the hospital. So
Yeah.
it was like a nice little
Yeah.
all in the family
Sweet.
story. It was
Well,
great.
we will, like, if and when you're ready and whatever happens, we will love to have you back to talk about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I
But
hope
no
that goes
pressure.
So well.
See what other
Oh my
fucked up
gosh.
things I can say to this doctor.
Yeah. You're amazing.
Yeah, we really just need to hear more of that. Like what?
Yeah,
what
we
other
just need
things are
you to be,
saying the
you should be
doctor?
like a reoccurring guest because you're just so fucking good.
But can we make this about you for a second? Have you talked about this?
The doula stuff
The idea of doing it?
of IVF.
Of you doing it?
Yeah.
You have? Okay.
I talked about it a lot in season 2. I talked about it constantly because
I mean, you were pretty.
I tried to have, me and Nick tried for 2 full years to get pregnant.
Well, I remember
And
having that conversation with you.
I called you and I was just like, what was your experience? And
was
blah,
this
blah,
the
blah.
friend that you?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Putting
And
pieces together.
I just wanted to know your experience with it. And I just thought for me, because I'm already on depression meds and anxiety meds, and I was like, I just don't think it's going to be good for me with a toddler. And you had a great experience with it. So it's like, it could have
Well,
been.
and I take Prozac and took Prozac the whole time.
Yeah.
And when you talked about stopping at some point for you, like I don't know how you did it.
I stopped everything with Farah and I went crazy.
Yeah.
I went absolutely insane during that pregnancy and after. I mean, the entire year after she was born was a horrific year circumstantially for us, but I was also unmedicated.
Yeah.
And I'm a clinically depressed person who suffers since I was diagnosed as a teenager.
Yeah.
I need to be on medication. I'm not someone that functions without it.
Well, and postpartum for anyone is
crazy
dipping
without
your
being
toe in an
depressed.
insane pool.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
you're at
it's
least,
dipping your foot.
You're at least it's
when
the
I-
whole foot. Yeah.
When I went to a fertility specialist, they basically just pressured me to do IVF immediately.
Yeah.
They didn't want to look into anything.
And that's exactly
They
what
saw
it is.
almost
sounds like, yeah.
they saw almost no eggs. I mean, they saw 2 or 3 on each side, and she was like, "That's really low. Like that's not a lot." And it freaked me out. It made me feel terrible. So I really thought adoption was our only option, and we talked about this only when Nick agreed to be open to it. My body allowed me to get pregnant.
Yeah.
But it's also a miracle because I saw with my own eyes that I had barely any eggs.
Yeah.
So, and I'm 41 years old. So, like, for me to be 41, have barely any eggs, it's already a 7% chance on a good day for someone my age to get pregnant. And what they saw in the ultrasound, it is just like Athena feels like this baby's meant to be because we did everything, nothing worked, we gave up, and now I'm pregnant. You know, I'm 18 weeks pregnant. But like, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And I do believe that your babies are supposed to be yours.
Yeah.
They really are.
Yeah.
Like any other combination makes another human, but we get the combination that we get, and it's our humans that we make, and it's just like the most special thing. And I like dealing with infertility for 2 years. My heart breaks so much for women that deal with it because I've never been more. I've never felt more stressed and not enough. What's the word I'm looking for?
Like you've oh my god,
what's the fucking word?
I know. It's not inferior. It's
Not inferior.
Shit. I know
Bill?
exactly what you want to say.
Okay. Anyway, you guys know what the fuck
Less than.
Less than.
that's what kept coming to my mind, but I wanted to say something like more sophisticated.
Well, every time you say "in," I'm like fertile.
yeah,
Infertile.
Infertile.
Yeah.
But I just never felt so helpless in my life, and I felt like I wanted so badly to do this for my family and to
well,
do
and
this
you kept putting the pressure, like you would,
and I couldn't do it.
you kept saying, "I want to do this for Nick, and I want to do this for Farah," and you
Because it
also
took
were
me a long
putting-
time to acknowledge or admit that I did want another baby because I don't like breaking my own heart.
Yeah,
And like I don't like to admit that I want
100%.
things because when they don't happen, I don't like people to know that I'm sad because I don't like to be vulnerable.
yeah,
I was scared to admit I wanted to have kids.
It's
ever,
just who I am
because I thought I'm never going to have a family. That's not going to
Me
happen.
too.
I've never had a stable relationship.
I was
It's
scared
not-
to tell Nick that I wanted. I mean, I told him that I wanted kids, but I was scared to even admit that I wanted to get married. That I wanted to have kids because I
actually remember this conversation with you guys like 7 years ago. I remember sitting around your table and like having this long conversation when you guys like had maybe a year in or something. And
like I want to have kids. I want the option to have kids if you're not ready for that.
Yeah.
But I felt like I needed to say that to him because I felt like my time was running out. Before that, I would have never said that to anyone because I wouldn't have wanted them to know that I wanted it. Because I wouldn't have wanted them to know that I was vulnerable and that I didn't know that it was going to happen for me.
which I think is such it's actually and I know like as we get older, but it's such a question I've had with so many of my friends, or like a conversation I've had with so many of my friends when they're like, when do you say it on a date? I'm like, your first date.
Yeah.
Let's go. There's no reason to hide that. If that's what you're feeling like you're doing, which is also how I feel about with infertility, I'm like, just get tested. It's not going to hurt anything.
Yeah.
yeah.
If you're
And if
ever
you feel
worried
really
or
special
concerned or
with someone,
curious,
and if you feel like the connection you have with Scoot and the connection that I have and you have, like, so the right person for you is not going to be scared of the fact that you want to have a kid.
yeah,
It's a human thing. It's a scientific thing. It's nature. And if someone's scared when you tell them the truth about what stage you are in your life, your timeline, then that's not the right person for you.
yeah.
But when I told him, and he was really great about it. But like I feel I'm that way with everything. I protect myself.
Yeah.
I'm very much a person that protects themselves from being hurt. But I didn't think I would get pregnant with Farah. I didn't think I'd get pregnant with him. And it took such a long time. And I do, honestly, and I know we have to wrap it up, but like it is infertility breaks people.
Yeah.
It really does.
I
It
think
breaks
that,
people.
and relationship. I've seen so many people where it comes in between that too. And
Sure.
we like nod to each other all the time that we got to become like an even better team and and did it in a way that felt so good. But I think it just speaks to the fact, like, I definitely wanted to be a mother before. I had never met someone I wanted to be the father to my kids
Bingo.
before.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he was it. And
Yep.
it was quick. I knew quick.
Yep.
And so
Same.
And so that was like the big difference. But it can tear people apart. I've watched, I mean, people will alter their every hour of every day, their every meal, their every action, their everything. And
And it becomes all you think about.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it was all I thought about for a good year and a half.
I drank a lot.
Yeah.
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 Way too much.
Yeah. I felt just terrible. And I told Nick, I said, this is ruining our relationship. I can't. Sex became not sex.
Oh, a job.
It was just like, so I'm just so grateful that it happened for me, but I also feel like incredibly like just thankful and blessed that it did, because very easily could have not. And that would have been okay. You know, it would have been sad, but that's
just a different story.
But it's just a different story. Like I would have adopted, and that would have been its own beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But I'm
Tony's
excited.
meant to be here.
I'm excited.
Just like Athena.
And now that I've said it out loud, I'm like really scared that I just need nothing to happen.
Yeah.
You know, because you say it, and we had an episode about miscarriage, and I got a lot of stories, a lot of personal messages from people that had late term miscarriage,
And that was
and
the
it
thing.
is such a fear.
Yeah.
The amount of people that have not said it that then tell you stories later, and not necessarily that when you're pregnant everyone wants to tell you the worst thing that's happened to them,
Yeah.
but they feel like I can share.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Nope. Me neither.
It's like more people have had miscarriages than not.
Yeah.
Oh
that I know.
gosh.
Yeah.
So most women have.
It's insane.
And the men go through it too. A lot of the messages I got were from men that were like, we lost our baby at 30 weeks. 30 weeks.
28 is somebody I know is 28.
That's a stillbirth to me.
Yeah,
you know, like
100%.
you had a baby
Yeah.
that you lost.
Yeah.
But anyway, on that high
Yeah.
note,
We don't have to talk about that.
we've loved
God.
loved having you, Kalli, and we will have you back.
Yes, come back.
Thanks, guys,
I
for
feel like
listening.
I could sit here and talk for the next
know, it'll
like
be 2 hours.
2 hours. Yeah.
Great. I know. I wish you weren't pregnant. We could just go out and have some drink.
I know. She was just well, not the not
Believe me,
pregnant
I
part, but
fucking
the
wish.
drink part.
I mean, I'm so
I
excited.
wish.
Pregnant,
Well, I
though, if
just
we're being
wish you
honest.
could, get hammered during pregnancy. That's what I wish.
Yeah.
Can you not?
Science, can you
Yeah.
just like
Wait. Oh.
can you catch up? There's got to be a pill.
Nobody
I can
told me
take.
that.
Real
Yeah.
quick.
All right, guys, we will see you next week. This is Rock Me Mama.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Rock, rock, rock me, mama.